And welcome
Yes.
everyone along to facilitator call number 22. We split it into two, the same catch up, but just at two different times during the day to see whether there was a particular time that worked better for people or not. So we'll see how many people come along to the 4 o'clock one. But thank you again, John Stanshall, for agreeing to facilitate this series. And this is continuing. We're looking at the success after RMPP funding finishes. So I'm going to hand it over to you, John. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Denise. Welcome, everybody. Okay, so not quite like one of the previous ones I ran in terms of had a particular agenda or outcome. I'm not sure what the outcome is today, so I'm looking, this will be sort of evolve. It'll be quite organic as we go. But I thought we'll just have a quick catch up first, who's here, and then we'll start in with the first question. So I'll start off. I think most of you know me by now, but yeah, John Stanshall, based in Palmerston North, working for Ag, and I've facilitated 8 RMPP groups, still got 10 altogether because I've got other groups that didn't get involved with RMPP, and also do quite a lot of individual consulting work. So yeah, so John King.
Yep, John King, based in Christchurch. I work with groups from Northland to Southland. Yeah, so I sort of in the region ag space. So a number of other groups are asking me to talk about that at the moment as well. So, yes, that's my focus. Yep.
Thanks, John. Matt Hoare.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm a farm advisor based in Central Otago, working very closely with another one here, but I've got 5 RMPP groups and soon another farm discussion group. So the reason I've joined today, I just want to see where people are at with the groups going forward and what the future might be, because that's obviously the conversation I'm having with 4 out of my 5 now. So, and looking positive in that space, but just hoping to learn a bit more that I can take forward to, keep them going forward. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Cool, thank you. That's good. Some expectations there. That's what I meant to add as well. Was yeah, just your expectations from today, from the session. So Rachel Joblin. Well, you have to unmute you, Joe.
Based in the Tararua and facilitate several action groups and also discussion groups and also sheep and beef consultancy and sheep and beef farming as well. Some of my groups are, one particularly is a new group and I see that wanting to continue. Some of my older groups I think will probably part ways, but I believe it has opened their eyes to the power of working as a group. So I think they'll reform in different ways.
Cool, thanks Rachel. Melissa.
Hi, Melissa, based down in Dunedin and work for Silverfern Farms. I just only have one action group, but it's been the one that's been running for the longest. And yeah, I haven't been able to jump on any of these for a while. So I was like, oh, I can fit this into my calendar. But I'm actually really interested just to see how everyone's kind of thinking next steps and how we kind of progress around that. Because when I do catch up with my guys, that is something we are talking about. And I think they want to continue, but how or when or whether I'm included or not is the $1 million question.
Cool, thanks Melissa. Ben Early.
Good day everyone. I think I know everyone here and everyone knows me, but obviously customer support with RMPP based in Christchurch with Brendan and Denise and Dustin as well. So yeah, just interested to see where everyone's at with sort of the stages of their groups, and also we've got a bit of an idea of what we think sort of the future of this sort of program looks like, or approach post RMPP. So it's just interesting to hear everyone else's thoughts and hopefully have some good discussions. So very good, thank you.
Cool, thank you. Denise, would you like to make a comment, please?
Yep, everyone knows I'm Denise, based here in Christchurch with RMPP and Beef and Lamb New Zealand. And I did also want to say that Donna is on the call. She can hear. She's just not, the microphone and talking probably won't work very well, but she'll try and use the chat box. So she's just introducing herself in the chat. She's got one group, we've used all the funding. We've planned a few more events, which will be self-funded. So not sure what will happen after those. But so Donna's based down around Gore with that group. Thanks, Donna. And thanks, John. Cool.
Thanks, Denise. Yeah, Brendan.
Hi, everyone. Ditto to Ben's comments, really. Yes, project manager for the RMPP Action Network, and just really interested to hear the thoughts of everyone here and be involved in the discussion today.
Okay, thank you. Megan.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan. I'm based in Abacus Bio in Dunedin. I run one RMPP group based in South Otago, and then I help Simon Glennie run, we've got about 6 or 7 groups now. We've just taken over a couple more. So my group, we've just, over winter and spring, we've had quite a bit of downtime. And so just trying to gain momentum again after having such a busy time over COVID. We had a meeting a week and then we had some downtime. So just trying to gain momentum again. The other groups, we are getting short on funding, and so we are starting to have discussions about what we do afterwards. Some were discussion groups prior, so I think they'll keep going, but I think we're trying to think of ways of how to get, you know, not just going straight back into discussion group form or structure, and just having a bit more constructive discussion. And we're talking about databases and collecting information and analysing it. So yeah, keen to get some thoughts on that as well.
Cool, thank you. And welcome, Donna. So thanks for your note in the chat box. And hopefully you can be involved later with the chat box, still participate. Okay, so the first question, perhaps just to get us thinking, set a little bit of context, really is a bit of a refresher. And what have the RMPP action groups achieved so far? Now, I'm thinking of this at an industry level more than an individual level, but of course the industry is made up of individuals. So some of the responses will be in terms of what individuals have achieved, either singly or as groups. But you know, it's okay. So just stepping back from it a little bit, you know, big picture stuff, because we want to help this in our thinking going forward. So not a whole lot of minute detail, but at a broad level. What have they achieved? So I'm going to ask Denise to put us into some breakout rooms, perhaps about 4 minutes, and then we'll come back and do a quick debrief. Denise, would you like to do some instructions about putting notes in the chat box, or?
Yes. Thanks, John. Yep, so I've got you split into 2 rooms. So if you could just choose one of you to report back. And ideally, if you're reporting back, you could just type some points into your breakout room chat box. Then we can copy and paste those into this general room chat box later once we're all back. But otherwise, yeah, that would be the ideal. Otherwise, I'll try and capture stuff in the chat box as we go. One thing just to note, that if Zoom prompts you to do an update, that would be really good, because basically if we've got the latest version of Zoom, I can set it up so that you can choose your own breakout room. But if you haven't got the latest version of Zoom, it doesn't work. And we tried it last time and it didn't work. So we're not going to do that this time, but just to let you know that Zoom does now have the feature where people can choose their own breakout room, but everyone needs to be on the latest version. So I'll just open all the rooms, John, 4 minutes. I've put the question in the chat box. So if you want to just look at the chat box, it's got the question there. So. Don't know if you can go to the breakout room, Donna. You're welcome to go and listen. It won't be a drama. You're probably mid-sentence. Welcome back.
Can you see that?
Can't say much in 6 seconds, can you?
Send us back. We didn't have enough time.
Now then, so I was putting those. Did those chats come through onto the general one or not?
No, because
Okay.
I
I
put
can
mine
chuck
on a
mine,
Word
John.
document, which I can email to Denise. I'll do that now. Wait a sec. Just let me finish typing the last bit.
I've managed to grab those. I've managed to grab those now. How do I get them into the general one?
Oh,
So
actually,
if you
wait a
just
sec.
copy and then paste and click in and just
Wait a
paste
sec.
again.
I'll just see if I can do this. This
Yeah.
will be.
Well, Melissa, you can just copy and paste it straight into the chat
box.
Did that work?
No.
Oh yeah. Did that? That's worked, hasn't it?
Has to come to the chat box.
I've put it somewhere.
I can see mine in there, which is the same one that we started with. But
oh, there we go. There's Melissa's.
Yep, there it is. Fantastic. Easy.
Awesome.
So can you see the ones from me and Donna?
No. So if you're able to copy them and then just repaste them.
Is that come in? It's really weird.
No. Have you hit return?
Yeah, you've got to hit return.
Oh, that's the trick. Okay.
Brilliant.
Right. So it's all joined together. That's all right.
That's all right.
Okay, thank you for that. So a quick, we didn't actually set up a reporter backer. So so from the other group, who's going to report back?
Brendan, John, King, Matt, or Melissa, who was going to report back? Brendan, thank you.
I can go if you like.
I was going to say, didn't we make some rules in our group? I'd type. Someone would do the speaking.
Melissa's done a great job of typing, and I'll just read what she's. No, look, it's some key points there. The feeling that there's a general increase in enthusiasm for farming amongst farmers generally through being involved in the supportive groups. More stimulation of ideas and through one of the other key points, increased connectedness across the sector. There's more ideas coming in, so they're getting exposed to more. And a lot of that's also translating through into increased confidence. And that probably covers it, unless anyone else wants to add anything.
All right, thanks, Brendan. Rachel, would you like to do a quick summary from our group, please?
Sure. Again, probably reading from the notes, that we all identified a theme of connections across the industry. So with SMEs, other farmer experts and experts within our existing group, that it was a formal way to engage the unengaged at times by inviting them into the group. Also that the level of goal setting or business planning has increased as a result, starting off with KPIs or just identifying individuals' goals or their motivation for being a part of the group, that's flowed through and is likely to continue. And then the last one, John, you might have to, there was one more that you wanted to add just as we went back to the main room. And I can't remember it.
Yeah, I think I was just saying about, it's just engaged a whole lot of people who previously weren't engaged in any sort of connections. And, I've been fortunate enough to be part of that. So I've seen that, and I think that's massive for the industry, just to get so many more people engaged and thinking. And and I think that just does run through from those comments that have been made about it. It generates enthusiasm and it helps to generate new ideas, just people being involved. Cool. All right, brilliant. Thank you for that. And we've got that captured in the chat box. So just before we go to the big question, the final question, sometimes it's interesting to look at it from a different angle first. And so what my next question really is, what are the risks going forward of not being able to maintain the momentum? let's just have a little think about the negative side, the risks that are there about not being able to keep going, and then we'll come back. The next question will be the main one. So, all right. So perhaps, yeah, only 4 minutes again in the chat box.
Yep, so I've put the question in the chat box again, and I'm going to mix you up a little bit so that you get slightly different. Maybe, yes, that's slightly different. This is the trouble, recreate. I'm just gonna.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to open it and go with this. All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Back again. Well done. So if you were taking notes, if you can just highlight those in your chat box and then Control-C, Control-V into the chat box. Yep, brilliant. Thanks, Ben.
Okay, sorry, I'll just copy these. I wasn't very good at making the notes for a start, so it's very brief. All right, thanks for that. So who's reporting back from the group that I wasn't in?
Ben, Donna, John King, Megan, or Melissa?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just going back through Ben's notes. One of the things that we're focusing on there was the risk of keeping the same momentum when without that funding there was a risk of slipping back into the old discussion group format. Bigger groups and sort of, get out there and kick some soil around, that kind of thing, and straying away from sort of the action approach. There was Megan made a comment there around the funding, that particularly that the farmers won't connect so much with each other beyond the farm gate. And that, with the discussion group, you meet maybe once a season, whereas with the action groups, you're meeting more often than that. And so there's a couple of things there that, and the other thing that was brought up by Melissa as well, that's not on here, was the the impact on the consulting industry. So with the funding gone, and the opportunity for consultants to be doing things as they are currently doing now will also be seriously impacted. So. And Melissa was mindful that many consultants actually don't know what it takes to organise all these things. So that might, I don't know, Melissa might be able to comment further on that. But I mean, that's where we sort of got to by the end of our conversation, was in that space. So yeah.
Okay, so can I just quickly pick up on that? So do we see the impact on the consulting industry as a positive or a negative? Is it an opportunity or a threat?
I think I was just saying it's a risk that we've got all these people that we've got skilled up, they're out facilitating all these groups, and one of the key risks is if these groups fall through and these people are, as part of their income, are using these these discussion groups, it's a risk for the industry. Hopefully it's not, but it's something to be aware of.
Okay, hopefully the opposite might happen, but we'll come back to that in a minute. All right. Thank you. Matt, just a quick comments from our group, please.
Well, John, you were taking most of the notes, but what we got from the notes I took, we could be a re-emerging of some groups with a new set of goals. I really like that point, because I've actually been discussing it with two of mine, and I like that new, you reset it basically. And we also talked about at some time around succession, there will be a need for a new facilitator, because that brings a new skill set, new invigoration, but also new connections, is what someone else mentioned, which I hadn't thought of before, but that's actually a really good point as well. So they were just the 2 points I took down from our discussion.
Thank you. All right, and put in there. Yes, I think you've covered those things, and to me, yeah, the one of the risks going forward, I would have thought, was the lack of facilitators. So I guess facilitators who can keep the groups going, because just from the discussions that we've had over the period of time, this is sort of facilitators fall into a couple of groups in terms of at a big picture level. I mean, there's a lot of people that can facilitate and organise and do the things that are needed and bring in outside the expert speakers. That has gone extremely well. When the business model, well, as far as I can see and from my experience, the business model does not support there's just not the money there to pay for expert speakers, apart from perhaps now and again a group may decide to. So that means that the facilitator themselves has to be able to add value one way or another. And can they do that? And if there's not enough people that can do that, to me, that's what the risk is. So I would think of this people who can add value. There's plenty of work out there, because I think there's going to be more groups than not will not continue. That's my gut feeling. But Brendan or Ben, you might have some data on that, how it's looking at this stage in terms of continuance.
Look, the signs are good as has come through, I think, here as well. There's some good intentions, and there's still unknown that goes with that. But I think it's like any good sports team sticks to their systems and trust those. And so I think what we've learned through the RMPP Action Network is that there actually is a good approach that actually adds value here for farmers, and if done well, really does add value for farmers. So it's how do we stick true to that and continue beyond RMPP and have systems and support structures for rural professionals that enables them to become better facilitators, so that they are really able to help farmers identify what they're a part of and what their journey is, and are we on track to being adding value to where we want to be. So to your point, John, I'm, as I mentioned, our group, I think one of the biggest risks is that we lose the focus on supporting rural professionals that becoming better facilitators. And by that, I mean true facilitators, because it's not always about just bringing an expert in, because the power's in the room often, and at least trying to get to a point of understanding what we know, knowledge sits in the room, to identify what gaps are there. We're better, more efficiently, effectively bring in the right expertise to plug those gaps. So, yeah, I've probably covered a bit of ground there.
All right, thank you. Now, it probably leads nicely into the next question. So really now we are, so describing what success looks like beyond the funding. So this is what in your vision of the perfect world, what would happen once that funding stops? So we're going to assume that all funding stops, just to sort of force you to come up with something that doesn't rely on it. And then, so this will be the last breakout session. We'll do, perhaps we have 5 minutes on this one, Denise. Can we change that time? And then
easy.
when we come back together and sort of summarize that, and then perhaps see if there's any other points that we, what's needed to help make it work that hasn't perhaps already been mentioned. So, all right. Yeah, nice. Describe what success looks like beyond the funding.
So I've put that question into the chat box again with the assume all funding stops as well, John. So if you're worried about it, pull up your chat box. I'll open the rooms in 5 minutes this time. Cool.
Cool. Thank you.
A indicator, I guess, of this moving beyond the funding.
Anyone got anything to add to that, or got another thought?
One of the things I'm doing is surveying all my groups to find out what they think success looks like beyond RMPP funding. And as part of that, it might be, how do they see the group moving on as when the funding stops, that kind of thing. Are they prepared to actually stump up some cash and keep the group going? And what was that going to look like? Are they going to basically do what John was talking about before, where you have someone organise everything for you, or are they going to do what RMPP was all about, which was they look at how much money they've got and then go and decide, okay, who are the speakers we want to have this year? What's it going to cost us? That kind of thing, and go from that perspective. So, so just trying to put that into a survey at the moment for my groups for next month. So,
cool.
Some groups' success looks like, finishing almost. Like they've set a goal, they've achieved it, and now they've done almost. Like they've done what they need to do, and maybe in 6 months' time they'll connect with other farmers and they'll start a new group and a new goal. as such, but yeah, because it's hard to push a group to keep going if they don't have anything to aim for as such.
I think too, beyond the funded period, still, I mean, one thing I've really valued is the opportunity for professional development and facilitation area. And so it's still having opportunities
It was 5 minutes.
Does 5 minutes go faster than 4 minutes?
Absolutely, sometimes when you're getting into the discussion.
Okay. All right. Now, I didn't do much typing at all that time, unfortunately. Ben did a couple of things. Did you do much, Ben, or not? Did you get many points? No. Okay. But luckily, I did make a few written notes here.
And I'll capture them in the chat box, John. So if you didn't, I'll make sure.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we'll start off with somebody from the other group that I wasn't in, please.
So that was Ben. No, sorry, Brendan, John, Megan, or Rachel.
I type so I can say what we did. Has it come up in the chat box, or do I need to copy and paste again?
Copy and paste and push enter.
No,
This is there, Megan.
It is there.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, is that no? I should check another group. John Stanchel, did that come through for you or not? Because I think it was, yeah. I think you do need to do it copy and paste.
I can't
again,
see
so,
Megan's.
Yeah.
I'll just paste again.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about maintaining the connections between farmers and experts and facilitations, and maintaining the expectations of actions and goals would be an indicator of success. John is actually surveying all his groups to see what they think success looks like, which I think is a really good idea, because our thinking of what success looks like could be something different. I said that some groups may have achieved what they have set out to achieve, and so success for some groups could be that they stop and just keep an informal catch up or chat going. Rachel mentioned the opportunity for rural professional development and how success would be that we continue to have connection across the industry and how valuable that is. And Brendan would think success looks like keeping the structure of accountability, facilitators, connection going, and the development of rural professionals, as this creates value for the farmers, and they should be able to see the value that they're getting and pay for it. And then we ended on confidence. Success looks like confidence, and pretty much that was creating an environment where people feel that they have confidence and trust. So that was our discussion.
Fantastic. So that was pretty rich, and a lot of good details, a lot of good ideas coming out of that. All right. So, and from our group, yeah, Melissa, would you like to do a quick report back, please? Or was it? No, yeah. So you're on mute. Yep.
Yeah. There was self-driven and self-funded. Was Donna in our group? I can't remember. Groups keen to continue contact with the farmers, have a plan on what they will meet, and be self-funded, being prepared to pay for a facilitator and experts on some occasions. And then there was a lot of discussion, John, that you were taking notes on that I possibly can't quite remember talking about.
Yeah, we probably got into a little bit of detail about meeting frequency and
which was
resetting basically the group to reset, which did come through a little bit in what Megan said as well. Yeah, okay, all right. So have we managed to capture some of that, Denise? All right, thank you. So right out of that then. I guess I'll just, well, when I say open it up, it needs to be a little bit just managed. If I just go around everybody now, any thoughts sort of bringing all of this together, you know, the refresher, the risks and what success looks like, just sort of, okay, thoughts about going forward and what really needs to happen to make that success work. So I'll start off with Brendan.
Look, I've probably touched on what I think is the most important thing, and for me, it's having the support and structure wrapped around rural professionals to be better at becoming better facilitators and extension practitioners, and are confident to be able to keep this approach going and finding the place for it to fit and to be able to keep that going. To me, it requires some support and investment in that space around rural professionals.
All right, thanks, Brendan. I have to say, and I probably haven't had a chance to really say this, but from where I sit, I mean, this has been fantastic. You know, like it's never happened in my career before to have this sort of level of support, and it's just. So I think we need this as much as the farmers need what we give them, you know, and yeah, so no, that's pretty important. Thanks for that.
Sorry, can I just add one thing, John? Sorry, in case I don't get a chance. So what I would say, if we are finding value in this as rural professionals and those on this call and you know of others, I think we need to be vocal around that and talk about how it has helped and what you're seeing happen as a result of it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Matt, thoughts on summing that up and what needs to happen?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to quite answer this correctly, but this is sort of what I'm already planned to do with some groups, and I thought I'll share it anyway, because there seems to be a bit of enthusiasm for it when I've mentioned it to the groups, and that is we're actually going to do a review of all the RMPP activities that the group's done with me. And that could take a couple of hours. So I'm going to start the meeting with a bit of some highlight type things and a bit of EQ type stuff with them just to get them a bit motivated. But then because I've done quite detailed notes on every meeting, I've got what are the main takeouts from each meeting, or the main objectives that they got out of each meeting for that group. So that'll go into each PowerPoint, and that'll create the discussion point for each activity. And they're quite keen to, and I've also said there's got to be some accountability here. So there has to be, what have you implemented on your farm as a result of these meetings, or what do you plan to implement on your farm? And they have to come prepared for that. So they already know this already. So it's going to be a bit more interactive. And then at the end of that, they know, and I've got to write a memorandum of understanding for some of these groups of, we want to then formalize what the meetings and the group's going to look like going forward. And that I just was making some notes then. So that'll cover off things like frequency, the contents of the meetings, which I touched on with you before, John, in that previous breakout. I've got a few templates around that, which for some groups it'll be too full on, and for others we'll tone it down a bit. The costs involved, what experts we might get in, or farm tours, like we've talked about that already. And so instead of getting lots of experts in, it might be once a year we either get an expert in, or go on a field trip somewhere and look at various farms and have a bit of an itinerary, and it might be for 2 to 4 days or whatever. But those are the sorts of things that I'm planning. I've got 2 groups I'm doing that with in December. So that sort of planning is happening. So I don't know if that quite answers the question, but that's the sort of stuff I'm doing to keep the momentum going forward. So
thanks, Matt. I think that's fantastic. I mean, that's that at some point, that level of detail in terms of somebody's got to do something for existing groups to keep going. So yep, that's a great sign. Yep, thank you. Right, I just have to keep moving on. Weird times, rapid running away on us. Rachel, yes, your sum up and ideas, please.
I guess this meeting and reflection that has occurred has really highlighted that as a facilitator, we need to take on a new level of stewardship around extension in our industry. That without the support of the RMPP network behind us, so not just the funding, but the people and the other opportunities that have come along with it, that the stewardship really is going to sit with us. And it's something I've known, but it's really highlighted that for me. And just how that might look for each group and for each facilitator is different. And that my next step is probably more so really considering how I can support that and how that plays out before I go to my groups and ask them how it looks. So being clear on myself about it, and that needs to start now.
Cool. Okay, thank you. So far the groups that have carried on, my groups that have carried on, are sort of, it's been quite easy. But I would like to go through the formal process. I think you guys have got me fired up about having a formal process to see what they think the success looks like. And stewardship's an interesting thing, isn't it? We might come back to that, or that might be another whole topic. Okay, thanks, Rachel. Melissa.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one for me and my group. We've kind of in talked about what we're going to do next, and I know they want to continue in some format and stuff like that, but probably we're getting more down to the pointy end that we probably need to put some sort of plan in place around that. And as I said previously, really, and kind of what Rachel was just touching on, I really have to be really clear probably with them where I sit in that place. So whether I continue or whether they have to do it themselves and stuff like that. But my group's been really fortunate because they haven't actually paid for me. Purely because of my commitment with Silver Fern Farms. So they haven't seen any cost associated with any organisation or anything like that. So it's a bit more of a unique system than probably what some of the other groups are. So it's, bit interesting. So I'm not too sure. It's going to be an interesting one.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, and I think one of the things is just talking with them, outlining what the options are really and then if they're keen to go forward, then the next step of formulating the plan. So thank you. Megan.
Yeah, what are we doing? We're summing up, aren't we?
Summing up and things that you think need to be done to try and capture that success, our vision of success going forward.
I think, well, us at Abacus, we're trying to think of ways of how to add even more value and how to streamline the process, because we have, 8 groups that we're trying to organise. And as everyone knows, organising groups is actually way more work than what they think it is. So I guess trying to, we've got this thought of what some of our groups found real value in analysing their data and seeing graphs and see where they fit within the group. So trying to think of ways of how we shift from spreadsheets, clunky spreadsheets where we have to collect data and, make sense of it all and transfer it to a database or a software where it collects year on year and creates trends individually, but also on a group basis. So I guess success would be that groups would see success in seeing the database as a part of a facilitator and creating discussion and more constructive discussion rather than just a informal discussion group. So just, I guess adding more value and adding more things or data to discuss.
Okay, yeah, certainly there's always benefit in benchmarking. There's a benefit in having objective data, isn't it? Just allows you to go to a whole nother level of discussion. And people, I've just seen it over the years, the people that have the data that do the benchmarking are often just miles ahead because A, they're thinking about stuff, and B, they're always looking at how to do something better, and they use that data to help them do things better. Or see what somebody else is doing and how can I do that. Okay, cool, thank you. Ben, some thoughts?
Yep. Well, this is sort of a wee bit of a definition. It's probably a wee bit fluffy, but just a brief definition, I think, of success going forward would be thriving groups and thriving group environments, confident farmers, and real sector alignment and connection within the industry is what what success would look like to me. And I think going back to Brendan's sort of points, it sort of starts with the real professionals. And if we can continue these communities of practice and learning off each other and sharing of information, then that's going to put us in a better position to support these groups and farmers as well. And obviously just interesting to hear about the different ways of from Matt and a few others of how people are reflecting on where they've come from and where they are now, and sort of that resetting process, because that's probably a good way of getting farmers to identify the value that they've got, and how can they and how would they want to implement that going forward. It's a good way to stir the pot again, I guess, and get everyone fired up to continue on. So that's a few brief points from me.
Thank you, brilliant. Now you did a great job with those first few points of your definition. Can you just please repeat those?
Oh, this is just rough, and I don't know if there's anything correct or anything. I just said thriving groups, and group environments, and confident farmers, and sector alignment and connection within the industry.
Well done. I think we'll be certainly looking for a few themes, and you've sort of done a good job of summarising up some of the themes that have come through. But I think perhaps Denise, we might have a little go at summarising up some of these themes later, and just having them there as a useful resource and for thinking
Definitely.
about. Yeah, cool.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Ben. Now, as people have been leaving, my screen's moving around and I've lost the order. So I think John King, you haven't had a chance yet. So, and then I'll refresh on who's missed out so far.
Yeah, Paul. For me, I guess the success is that as your groups continue, or they may change in terms of format and things. They may reform or something, and I'm kind of expecting that with some of my groups because quite often I've got 2 in each area. So I imagine that some of them will people will drop out, and I might end up with 1 group in the area, that kind of thing. And of course, I'm going to do a survey with all my groups to see what they think success is for them after the payment. So payment finishes. So we'll see what happens with that, and that'll drive communication or conversations about what will happen with the group after that. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I think there's been some useful comments, some useful themes. There's been some consolidation, some themes have been reoccurring, and hope that's been useful. So I'm gonna have to wrap it up there. People have obviously left, and I've only a couple of minutes over, but I'll take that.
No, you're doing good. It's good, John.
Is almost a win. So thank you very much, everybody, for contributing, and for those of you who have been in the past meetings as well. I certainly appreciate it, and yeah, so hopefully one way or another we can keep on catching up in the future as well. And yeah, all the best with your groups. I certainly hope that I'd hate it for groups that want to keep going to not have a facilitator. That would be my worst fear. So I have said this to Matt and sorry, to Ben and to Dusty, really, and the crew in there, and is that there's a new job, and that is a reconnection for people. And the term I use is for people, if a group stops running, but there's only 1 or 2 people that want to find a group somewhere, you sort of think of them as orphans, being orphans from a group. We need to be able to find them a home, because the worst possible scenario is that keen people they fall out of a group altogether. And I'm doing everything I can to try and find and connect with those people, because I've got a few homes for them if they need anyone in this area. So with that, thank you. Now, there's no one, I didn't miss anybody, did I? You've
I think you captured everyone. Yeah, Donna had to go, and then Megan had to go. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll type up these notes. I'll flick them to you, John, and then I will send them around, and we'll consolidate the notes from the call this afternoon as well. So
yes,
you'll get all of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Denise, for your organising and input and everything. So
thanks, John, for leading.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Catch you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks,
all right.
guys.